the question sometimes I get asked, and I'll ask the same question to you to see what you have to say, and that is, and that's probably what I suspect to be one of the reasons that's keeping people trapped in middle class thinking, which is, I'm got my daytime profession, I've got a job, I'm quote unquote busy, and therefore I've got a financial advisor, and or I've got someone who's a finance professional that's helping me out. Isn't that good enough?
Well, that is typically part of the middle class thinking, is giving your money problems away to somebody else to solve. Now, the problem with that is 95% of people that retire in the end up being reliant on state support or family support, or both.
State support meaning potentially government programs?
Government programs. 95% of people. So the hope that somebody else will be able to solve your money problems very seldom materializes. And
so it's simply a hope.
Yeah.
It does not necessarily become realized.
It's part of the middle class thinking of avoiding money problems. So we think all we need to do is go and study, become a lawyer, and then I never have to think about money. And that never happens.
So why is it that we don't like to look at money when it actually buys us our basic food and housing and necessities, and potentially luxury goods and other good things that come to our life? And for those of you who finishes your diamond course, they will also get to see that money ultimately empowers them to not only live their personal passion, but allows them to make a contribution.
Oh, we love money if we can spend it. We just don't like solving money problems. And you know what? Deep in our psyche, we still think of money as something filthy, something unpure, something. Somehow we still feel guilty if we want to make money. And I find that this is true in the Western tradition and the Eastern traditions, that we've separated spiritual power from material power. That we think of something material as bad,
or at least not good,
or something that, you know, that's not so pure. And I guess in our whole education, we never confronted to really look at money seriously and solve money problems.
So I learned math, I learned geography, I learned biology, and definitely I learned about all the different wars in history,
yes,
and when it occurred.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily taught how to balance my checkbook or invest it.
Yes. So because it's something unfamiliar for you, you just avoid it and continue to avoid it and give it to somebody else to solve. And I promise you, the people that you give it to solve your money problem, sometimes they spend less money and time studying and educating themselves than you have.
They probably have even the same money problems that you do.
They very often, because they live on commission, very few of them are actually investors themselves. So they haven't really learned to solve money problems. They actually just give it to bigger institutions that put your money in a pool and invest somewhere in the world, and you don't have a clue what they're doing. So you never get educated by giving your money away to somebody else to invest. When you invest yourself, you make mistakes. You learn from that. Next time you make even a cleverer or a more informed decision. But of course, that learning is accelerated 100 times being part of a team, and that team being part of a global network. Because you get to hear the questions people in Sydney ask, and you get to hear the questions people in Singapore ask.
You make it sound very safe. And in my listening to your answer, you said something like, when you give the money problems away to somebody else, then they're managing the whole thing. And to me, that's a good thing, because then it's you've taken my problems away and my headaches away. And then you said something about, when I take responsibility for managing my money, I get to make mistakes, right? And then you make it sound so safe, and you make it sound so easy and painless.
Yes.
And in reality, when I make a mistake, isn't that risky? Can I lose my money?
Well, you know, you've got to overcome the fear of losing money before you can make money. And part of our middle class thinking is the thinking that we can actually hold on to money, and that's an illusion. You lose your money whether it's in the bank or safely in the bank or not, because your currency that your money belongs to devalue all the time. You pay taxes. So you lose money all the time, and you never think that's a threat. So losing the fear of getting rid of the fear of losing money is the first step of getting out of middle class thinking.
Do you walk people through that process inside the Diamond course?
Yeah, we talk about risk, and it's about your perception of risk, because different people have got a different perception of risk. What is risky to rich people is sometimes not risky to middle class people at all. While something that middle class people think is really, really risky, to rich people isn't risky at all.
So for example, if I gave all my money management responsibility to someone else, to a rich person, that's risky.
Well, a rich person would absolutely have sleepless nights giving his money away and not taking responsibility for his money. And I personally, when I was in middle class thinking, I would have slept very soundly thinking somebody else's money.
It's taking care of it.
I tell you what, I wouldn't sleep 1 second if that happened to me now. And that's a reality.
So it's much safer to take responsibility for not only your money, but also your personal ability to assess risk.
Absolutely.
Your personal ability to assess the value of each opportunity based on the underlying fundamental key value propositions, the business models, and or the deal structuring, even learning the basic language of an investor. To me, that sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And again, you cannot avoid it. Yet we created a system that you can continue with your work. If you're a lawyer or secretary or a physiotherapist or whatever you do, you can continue with your work because you are surrounded by experts that will give certain input and put certain things on the table. Then on top of that, you're surrounded by friends that will look and see what you cannot see, because the thing about money is we all have strengths and weaknesses. Every single person can see some things really clearly and other things are completely blind to. So when you come to investment and money, that's exactly how it is. So being surrounded by friends that see what you cannot see is the power of the system. So you don't have to become an expert on everything. You only need to become...
Thank God.
Thank God. You only need to become good at what you're good at, because other people will be good at what they're good at. And this is how everybody supports each other to make the right decisions. The story I always tell when I think about this is the story of Cowboy Carstens. He was my father's cousin, and he was a farmer. We called him Cowboy because he used to ride 2 horses at a time on the agricultural shows. He was a wild man, one of the toughest, wildest men I've ever known. But Cowboy had a gift, and his gift was to be able to see money-making opportunities from a mile away. And so he would very often make a lot of money in a short time and be the envy of the whole family, but then he would lose it just as fast. So one day he was broke, and he had another brilliant idea to make money. So he went to the chairman of the agricultural union and said to him, "Can I borrow money from you again? I'm going to make a lot of money." So the chairman said, "Sorry, you've had your chance. You've lost so much money. Every single time you make money, you lose it. We're not going to give you money anymore." So he pleaded and pleaded. And eventually the chairman said, "Okay, I'll give you the money. But this time on the condition that I will have co-signing rights with you on your check account. And you won't spend a cent without my consent." And that is when Cowboy started making money and continued to make money until he eventually died a very, very rich man. And this is the point. Cowboy never had to learn to manage money. He could only do what he was good at.
Which is to spot opportunities.
To spot opportunities and make use of those opportunities and make money. And because somebody else took over the management, that which he, even if he tried, he would have probably never learned to manage money well. But somebody else did that on his behalf. And that's why he could just stay in his flow.
So he had a team of 2 people.
He had a team of 2 people. Now, our system makes you part of a much bigger team.